I want you to picture two brothers. Same parents, same house they grew up in, same schools, same opportunities. They even chose similar careers and earned nearly identical salaries their entire working lives. At 65, one brother retired with $1.4 million in investments, a paid-off house, and complete financial freedom. He spends winters in Arizona. He helps his grandchildren with college costs. He never checks prices at restaurants. The other brother retired with $180,000 in savings, a mortgage with 12 years still remaining, and financial anxiety that follows him into every single morning. He works part-time at a hardware store because Social Security doesn't cover his expenses. He lies awake at night calculating whether he can afford both his medications and his property taxes. Identical genes, identical upbringing, identical earning power, radically different retirements. The divergence didn't happen in their 20s, when both were too young and too broke to make meaningful financial progress. It didn't happen in their 30s, when both were building families and careers with similar approaches. And it didn't happen in their 50s, when the trajectory was already locked in. The divergence happened entirely in their 40s. One brother made a series of decisions during that decade that seemed small at the time. The other brother made different decisions that also seemed small. Neither realized they were determining the entire shape of their remaining lives. Your 40s represent the most consequential financial decade you will ever experience. Not because the decisions are harder than other decades, but because the stakes multiply in ways that are not obvious until it is too late to change course. Today, I am going to show you exactly why your 40s carry this outsized importance, the specific decisions that separate comfortable retirement from stressed retirement, and what you can do right now, regardless of your current age, to ensure you end up on the right side of this divide. Let me explain the mathematics that make your 40s so disproportionately powerful. Your 40s sit at the intersection of three financial forces that do not align at any other point in your life. The first force is peak earning power. For most professionals, income reaches its maximum somewhere between 42 and 55. The raises that felt significant in your 30s slow down or stop, but the absolute dollars are higher than they have ever been and higher than they will likely be again. A 45-year-old earning $120,000 can save more in absolute dollars than at any previous point in their career. The second force is remaining compounding time. At 40, you still have 20 to 25 years until traditional retirement. That is enough time for money to roughly quadruple at historical market returns. A dollar invested at 40 becomes approximately $4 by 65. At 50, you have 15 years remaining. That dollar becomes roughly $2.50. At 55, you have 10 years. That dollar becomes roughly $2. The compounding multiplier drops rapidly with each passing year. Your 40s represent the last decade where meaningful compounding remains possible. The money you invest at 42 works dramatically harder than the money you invest at 52. The third force is expense stabilization. By your 40s, many major expenses have peaked or begun declining. Children become more independent. The house you stretched to afford now fits comfortably in your budget. The career wardrobe is established. The furniture is bought. This stabilization creates potential margin that did not exist in your 30s when every expense category was growing simultaneously. The question is whether that margin flows to savings or gets absorbed by lifestyle expansion. These three forces combine to create a decade of unusual leverage, more income than ever before, enough time remaining for compounding to matter, potential margin from stabilizing expenses. The person who captures this alignment builds substantial wealth. The person who misses it faces mathematical constraints that cannot be overcome. Let me show you the specific numbers. Someone who reaches 40 with $100,000 in savings, earns $110,000 annually, and saves 15% from age 40 to 65, accumulates approximately $1.35 million by retirement. If instead they save only 5% during their 40s and increase to 15% at 50 when retirement feels urgent, they accumulate approximately $780,000. That is $570,000 less, despite only 10 years of reduced contributions. And the person who spends their 40s upgrading their lifestyle, averaging just 2% in retirement contributions, then panics at 50 and saves aggressively, accumulates approximately $590,000. Their comfortable 40s cost them $760,000 in retirement wealth. The decade of decisions created a gap that a decade of correction could not close. The mathematical leverage of time cannot be recovered through increased contributions later. Let me walk through the specific decisions that matter most during this critical decade. The first decision involves housing. Your 40s often bring an urge to upgrade your living situation. The kids are bigger and need more space. You have earned success and want a home that reflects it. The mortgage payments feel manageable given your income. This housing upgrade decision might be the single most consequential financial choice you make in your entire life. The family that upgrades from a $350,000 home to a $600,000 home increases their monthly housing cost by roughly $1,500 to $2,000 monthly. That is $18,000 to $24,000 annually that cannot be invested over the 25 years from age 40 to 65. That annual difference compounds to somewhere between $900,000 and $1.3 million in retirement wealth. The house upgrade literally costs $1 million in retirement money. The family that stays in the modest home and invests the difference can retire earlier, work part-time rather than full-time in their 60s, help their children buy homes, and weather financial emergencies without catastrophe. The second decision involves vehicles. The practical sedan gets replaced by a luxury vehicle. The reliable SUV gets traded for something prestigious. The family running two $45,000 vehicles instead of two $28,000 vehicles carries more auto debt, pays higher insurance premiums, and faces more expensive repairs. Over time, this vehicle premium costs somewhere between $200,000 and $400,000 in retirement wealth. The third decision involves children's education. Some families take on Parent Plus loans exceeding $100,000 to send children to prestigious universities. Others cash out retirement accounts to fund education. Others simply stop contributing to retirement entirely during the college years. Each of these decisions mortgages the parent's retirement to fund the children's education. The children graduate into peak earning years with their whole careers ahead of them. The parents enter their 50s with depleted savings and barely a decade to recover. The fourth decision involves career risk tolerance. Many people become increasingly risk-averse in their 40s, precisely when they should be taking strategic risks. They have built seniority and comfort at their current employer. But the 40s represent your last window for income acceleration. By 50, hiring discrimination begins affecting opportunities. The income difference between staying comfortable and pursuing growth can exceed $30,000 to $40,000 annually. Over 10 years, that's $300,000 to $400,000 in additional earnings. The fifth decision involves lifestyle inflation. Your 40s bring social pressure to display success. Colleagues take elaborate vacations, neighbors renovate their kitchens, friends buy boats and second homes. Some families resist this pressure and maintain the lifestyle that felt comfortable in their late 30s. Others expand to match their peer group, absorbing every dollar of increased income into visible consumption. The difference in retirement outcomes between these two approaches typically exceeds $1 million. David and Christine married in their late 20s. By 40, they had $185,000 in retirement accounts, owned a modest home worth $320,000, and were raising 2 children aged 12 and 9. Their combined income reached $165,000. They had choices to make. David pushed for upgrading their home. A comparable home in a nicer development would cost $575,000. Christine felt hesitant, but eventually agreed. The housing upgrade increased their monthly costs by $1,650. They adjusted by reducing retirement contributions from 15% to 6%. It was temporary, they told themselves. 2 years later, David's car developed problems. Rather than repair it, they decided he had earned something nicer. The new SUV added $680 to their monthly expenses. Christine's car was upgraded a year later. The children's high school years brought private sports training, SAT tutoring, and college visits. When the first child enrolled at an out-of-state university, David and Christine took a Parent Plus loan rather than asking their daughter to choose a more affordable option. Throughout their 40s, David and Christine never felt financially irresponsible. Every individual decision seemed reasonable. By 50, their retirement accounts held $240,000. That is only $55,000 more than they had at 40, despite 10 years of contributions and market growth. By 65, they had accumulated $685,000. It felt like a lot until they ran the retirement projections. They would likely run out of money by 82. They would need to sell the house, dramatically reduce expenses, or work well into their 70s. Now let me tell you about Robert and Jennifer. Robert and Jennifer looked remarkably similar to David and Christine at 40. Combined income of $155,000, retirement savings of $165,000, 2 children aged 11 and 8. Robert suggested upgrading to a larger home. Jennifer pushed back hard. She understood the mathematical impact of housing decisions on retirement outcomes. They agreed to stay. The $1,650 monthly difference flowed directly to retirement accounts. When Robert's car needed replacing, they bought a 3-year-old certified pre-owned vehicle. When college approached, they had honest conversations with their children about costs. Both kids attended state universities with merit scholarships. Throughout their 40s, Robert and Jennifer felt like they were swimming against the social current. Their lifestyle looked modest compared to their peers. By 50, their retirement accounts held $580,000. By 65, they had accumulated $1.65 million. Their house was paid off, they could retire fully, travel extensively, and never worry about money again. The mathematical difference between these two families was not earned by different incomes or different investment skills. It was earned by different 40s decisions. And here's what I find most striking about these two stories. During their 40s, both families felt equally satisfied with their lives. Research consistently shows that lifestyle inflation provides only temporary happiness. Within 18 to 24 months, people adapt to their new normal. David and Christine did not actually enjoy their 40s more than Robert and Jennifer. They just spent more. The additional spending provided no lasting satisfaction, while permanently constraining their remaining decades. Let me address something that underlies all of these decisions. The psychological difficulty of 40s frugality comes from feeling like you have earned the right to enjoy your success. After 20 years of working, the impulse to finally live well feels completely justified. But here is what that framing misses. The gratification you are seeking through lifestyle expansion provides temporary pleasure followed by permanent constraint. The upgraded house feels exciting for 18 months, then feels normal, while permanently reducing retirement savings. The luxury car provides a thrill for a year, then becomes just a car, while permanently limiting options. True gratification is not found in consuming your peak earning years. It is found in converting those years into permanent freedom. The person who resists lifestyle inflation in their 40s experiences genuine gratification every day of their comfortable retirement. The person who inflated their lifestyle experiences genuine stress every day of their constrained retirement. The discomfort of 40s frugality lasts 10 years. The reward lasts 30 years or more. The pleasure of 40s indulgence lasts 2 to 3 years. The consequence lasts 30 years or more. Picture yourself at 70 years old. You are sitting on a porch on a quiet morning. In one version of this future, you are thinking about which grandchild you will visit this month. You are planning a trip somewhere you have always wanted to see. You are relaxed because unexpected expenses do not threaten your stability. In the other version, you are calculating whether this month's Social Security check will cover your medications. You are worried about what happens if your car needs repairs. You feel anxious about an uncertain future with limited options. Both versions of you made their 40s decisions decades earlier. Both are living with the consequences. Which version you become depends almost entirely on what you do between 40 and 50. Not on luck, not on income, on decisions about housing, vehicles, education, career, and lifestyle that compound just like money does. Your 40s will eventually end. The decade will pass whether you make intentional choices or default choices. The only question is which version of your 70-year-old self you are building right now. Your 40s will decide everything. That is not a burden. That is an opportunity. My name is Angela, and I will see you in the next one.